Hi Stitchy friends, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. My name is Kenzie from Mud Puppy Stitchery, and I am a cross-stitch designer, I am a bird nerd and a wildlife lover, and I enjoy doing all of the crafty things. So if you're new, welcome. I hope you like what you see, and I hope that you'll continue to follow up with me on all of my future videos. And for my current subscribers, thank you so very much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So how has everybody been? It's been a couple weeks since my last video and not much to update you on as far as life things. We are creeping ever closer to Christmas, and I've luckily finished most of my Christmas shopping. Unfortunately, I won't have a lot of time off around the holidays because I am desperately trying to save my PTO for my trip beginning of January. But I am excited to see the family and to eat lots of big treats. This has always been a super fun time of the year because of Flossmas and Advent calendars, and there's so much online content that we get to enjoy. So I really appreciate you stopping by my channel and taking the time to watch. It really does mean a lot. So without further ado, let's jump right into my WIPs and one start that I've been working on for the past couple weeks. The first WIP that I worked on was Jane Atkinson, and I have been eager to pull her back out again and work on her a little bit more. So this is what it looks like so far. So this one is definitely going to be a focus piece this coming year. Not that I'm going to be able to finish it. It will definitely take several years, but I want it to constantly be in my rotation so that it gets more work done on it. And it's been such a fun stitch. I've just always wanted to pull it out and work on it. And I'm just loving the beautiful floss colors, especially against the slightly pinkish fabric, which is vellum by Picture This Plus. It also kind of feels like coloring because each flower is outlined in one color and then filled in with another. So it kind of feels like a coloring book, which is really fun. But I worked on finishing this super big middle flower, and that was a beast. And I worked on this bud over here, kind of extending into the border as well. So my fabric is as big as a sheet, so it's been a little bit difficult to wrangle that stitch on, but is going to be spectacular when it's done. I am just so excited. I'm also really excited to start working on the wording because I am completely changing it to song lyrics from a movie called The Prince of Egypt that have always really stuck with me. And I wanted to read you some of the lyrics. And we'll see how much I can actually fit on here. I need to do some charting and experiment a little bit. But these are some of the lyrics that I'd like to add. A single thread in a tapestry, though its color brightly shines, can never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And the stone that sits on the very top of the mountain's mighty face, does it think it's more important than the stones that form the base? So how can you see what your life is worth, or where your value lies? You can never see through the eyes of man. You must look at your life through heaven's eyes. So absolutely love that. I might have to do some 1/1 stitching in order to be able to fit it all in, but we shall see. I'll just play with it. But anyways, this is Jane Atkinson being stitched on vellum, and it was started on Easter of this year. My next stitch is a new start and a freebie that Michelle from MommaLovesYouGB showed on one of her most recent Flosstubes, and it is so cute. So this is I Stitch by Teresa Kogut, and it is just the cutest design. And this is how far I got. I ended up choosing my own colors, and I especially love the color combination on the skirt, which is Weeks Dye Works Holly and Bayberry. And the variegation of Bayberry is just so beautiful. And I think the combination is looking amazing, and I'm really excited to keep working on it. But I was able to stitch the little bird with the little cross-stitch hoop, and I worked on some of the words, and then I'll need to move down to the little tomato pin cushion down here. So it's quite a small design. It's only 70 by 101 stitches. So it shouldn't take too long to get this finished, although there is quite a bit of solid stitching on the lady's skirt. So I'll just keep working on this and hopefully have a finish soon. And I will make sure to link the freebie down below as well. So this is I Stitch by Teresa Kogut, and it's being stitched on an 18 count Oaken by Picture This Plus Fabrics. Before I hop into more of my cross stitch WIPs, I'd like to move on to a segment I like to call Wildlife Minute, where I give a little talk on wildlife, biology, animals, or anything that strikes my fancy. So hopefully you'll learn something new, and it will encourage you to take a deeper dive into the wonders of the natural world. And if you're just interested in the crafty stuff, please feel free to hop to this time point. Hi everyone, Wildlife Kenzie here. Today I wanted to talk about an extremely unique flying mammal that is super important to healthy ecosystems, and that is bats. I know a lot of people fear bats or see them as a nuisance, especially when they get into your house. But I want to explain a little bit more about why they're incredible animals, how they benefit you, and threats to their survival. There are at least 150 species of bats within North America, and Minnesota has 7 of them. And bats have an extremely high level of biodiversity worldwide. So what is biodiversity and why is that so important? Biodiversity describes the level of variety of life on Earth, from humans to fungi and everything in between. It's important because we are all part of the food chain, and we rely on each other for food, shelter, and for life. But instead of thinking of biodiversity as a chain, you can think of it as a spider web, where each species is structurally important to that web. And if one species dies out, or that part of the web gets damaged, then that affects the other species around it. So having strong biodiversity means that the food web is strong and structurally sound, so that when species go extinct, the whole web doesn't collapse. This is what I studied in college, so I'm extremely passionate about ecosystems and ecology. But bats are known as an indicator species. So when bats are doing well, then the ecosystem in general is healthy. Bats are extremely important because certain types of bats are pollinators, just like bees, and bats help to keep the insect population under control. In fact, they eat their entire body weight of insects each night. Unfortunately, there is a huge threat to bats currently, and that is called white nose syndrome. There is a newly discovered type of fungus that thrives in bats' prime hibernation habitat, which is caves. This fungus is passed from bat to bat and is not a danger to humans. But this fungus will starve bats, it will make them dehydrated, and damage skin tissues. It's a serious threat that has killed millions of bats, and there's more research that needs to be done to help stop this fungus from spreading to more bat colonies. I hope you've learned something new today about bats and how important they are to our ecosystems. Now let's head back to the stitching. I was able to work on another beautiful WIP, and that was MommaLovesYouGB's Birds of a Feather Circle Together, and it is turning out so good. So this is what it looks like. So you'll notice that my birds look completely different than the birds on the cover page, and that's because I am changing them to native North American birds. And so far I have the barn swallow, the American goldfinch, the eastern bluebird, and the purple martin. So, which ironically is not very purple in real life, so I have no idea what ornithologists were thinking when they named that bird. But the purple martin was what I worked on in this session, and I think he turned out really nice with his dark blues and blacks. I also have been diligently filling in the leaves with this beautiful variegated floss called Collards from Weeks Dye Works, and I'm actually almost out, so I need to put it in order at 123 Stitch to get some more. but I am loving this very subtle variegation, and it's just nice to be able to use one floss for the leaves instead of two. But I am really happy with how it's turning out. I think it's looking especially good on this fabric, which is an 18 count Valor by Picture This Plus Fabrics. But I just love it. I think it's a really beautiful, dusty, grayish, greenish blue, and I'm definitely going to have to buy more of this fabric. The next bird I'm really excited to work on is the one that looks like a woodpecker. And I am changing it to, or into a red-bellied woodpecker. And I think that's going to look absolutely amazing. I just love woodpeckers. I even have a woodpecker tattoo. It's a little downy woodpecker, and I just love it. And I am stitching this with the amazing Kim, the Contented Needleworker here on Flosstube, and hers is turning out amazing. She is stitching hers with the original colors, and it is looking so good. And it's been so much fun to see her progress and how different hers looks from mine, and I just love how they're both turning out. So this was Birds of a Feather Circle Together, and I can't wait to get back to this one. All right, so my next WIP is actually going to be a give up. And it was part of a stitch along, so I feel really bad about it. I'm so sorry, Denise. But this is Alpha Birds by the Crosswing Collection. And it just has not been an enjoyable stitch for me for multiple reasons. I think the design is fantastic, although I've realized it's not really my style because it has a lot of backstitch, which I think dates a piece in my opinion. But if you love backstitch and you find it effective in your cross stitch pieces, please keep doing it and please keep enjoying it. It just wasn't working for me and for my style. But it also has a lot of quarter stitches, and I stitch on Aida, and so it was not an enjoyable experience to try and stitch on. And because the pattern is, let's just say it's vintage, it's laid out really strangely and it isn't very intuitive. So it was kind of a puzzle to even attempt to stitch the first bird. And I didn't even get that far. Another issue I was having was my choice of fabrics and the floss colors. So this is Fiddler's Cloth Aida, which has a really nice neutral color tone, but oh my goodness, it is very crunchy. And it's difficult to work on because I have to pull the floss really hard through the holes. So that wasn't really a pleasant experience. And then the main color of the letters is this super light blue, which just does not show up on my fabric very well. So all in all, it was kind of a fail and it just didn't work out. But I was starting this stitch along with Denise of Black Ribbon Stitch Studios back in August of this year, and I'll be interested to hear if she's having some of the same issues as I've had and what she thinks. But I'm so sorry, Denise. I just could not keep stitching on it, and I was just eager to move on to another project, so I think that's a sign that it was just not for me. The good thing is I didn't get too far, and so I haven't spent a whole lot of time on the piece, so it doesn't feel too hard for me to let it go. But again, this was Alpha Birds by the Crosswing Collection, and this is going to be a give up. The next WIP that I worked on, and I've been eager to get back to this, was Whale Fields by Mama Witch X Stitch on Etsy. And so here's the pattern. And this is how far I got. So this is being stitched on an 18 count pistachio by Fiber on a Whim Fabrics, and it was started in January of this year. And you can see I had a false start right over here and realized it was probably too close to the edge, and so I restarted it in this direction. But I'm enjoying how it's turning out for the most part. Although I wish the DMC colors looked a little bit more similar to the picture on the front. They're kind of dark and desaturated green tones, And mine is turning out a lot brighter than I was expecting, but I still like how it's turning out. With that being said, I do love the dull yellow leaves right along the edges right here, because it gives like a dark, deep sea look where there's not much sunlight. So I think that looks good. And I basically stitched from here all the way down. So I got a good amount of progress in for a couple days of work. And I was really eager to get down to the whale's head, just because it felt like I was stitching so many amorphous blobs of color, and I just needed a good outline to help me visualize the project. This one does take a bit more concentration than some of my other WIPs, because one, there's a lot of stitching, and two, there's a lot of color changes. But that's what makes it look so good. So I'm really enjoying it, and I'm eager to keep making some small progress on it. The last WIP that I worked on was American Kestrel by Chickadee Needleworks on Etsy, and this is what it looks like. And this is how far I got. So last time I had just the outline of this male American Kestrel, and this time I've been working on filling him in. So the males, they have the blue on them, and the females, they are mainly that rusty orange color. But this has been such a fun piece to work on because of its geometric blocks of color. And so once I stitch the outline, then I can go to town on the fill-in. It's a really simple piece with only a couple colors, but I think it's graphic and effective, and I absolutely love the design. But this is being stitched on an 18 count silver fox by Fiber On and Whim Fabrics, and I think the floss colors really pop nicely on it. And this was one of my newer starts in the beginning of October 2024, so I don't think it should take super long to get this finished up if I keep plugging away at it. I'm not entirely sure if I'll do the white moon background, because that is a lot of solid stitching, and I think it would look just fine with the two kestrels by themselves. So we'll see. I will keep you updated. So that's what I've been working on these past couple weeks. I wanted to take the time to tally up what I've been working on over all of 2024 and see what I actually accomplished. And hopefully in my next video, I can do a full WIP parade. So I went through my Excel file that I use for cross-stitch and craft tracking, and I tallied everything up that I finished and started in 2024. I was surprised that I ended up having 7 cross-stitch finishes, and in order of completion, it started off with the raccoon, prairie birds cardinal ornament, love and prickles, the full prairie birds 10-piece set, a cute little cow bracelet, strawberry bird, and my 100 owls piece. I was only expecting a couple finishes, but those smaller ones really helped to increase the total number. And I had 5 other crafty finishes, including a beaded monarch butterfly, 2 macrame bats, and 2 sequined and beaded bees. It's been so much fun to explore the different types of crafts this year and share that with you guys as well. And continuing with the finishes, I also completed 5 crochet blankets this year, with 4 of them being baby blankets, and I also completed 2 crochet clothing pieces. So I was pretty happy with tallying up those numbers, and I ended up having 9 cross-stitch starts, which for me is a pretty good over a full year, and I feel comfortable with that number. So those are my stats for 2024. It was really interesting for me to look back and to see how much I've accomplished over this past year, and it makes me excited to keep pushing for more finishes into this new year. As far as when my next video will come out, that will likely be at the end of January, because I have my big international trip coming up in the beginning of the month. So I'm going to be doing a lot of prepping and preparing for that, and will likely not have very much time to work on any WIPs besides the one that I bring along on my trip, which will be the Australia sampler. I'm going to have a lot of time on the plane and in the car, so hopefully I'll make some significant progress working on this monogamously throughout January. And then once I get back, I think that will be a perfect time to do a beginning of the year WIP parade. And I'm excited to dive into my big storage container of WIPs and share with you what I've got. And that is all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like the video, please comment down below, and check out my Etsy page, also linked down below. And please follow me at MudPuppyStitchery on Instagram to keep an eye on what I'm doing in between videos. So I appreciate you so very much, and I hope to see you at the end of January. So take care, do some bird watching, and stitch all of the things. Bye!